If you can't save $10,000, stop pretending you're on the path to 100,000. That dream is premature. And pretending otherwise is how people stay broke for decades. Everyone wants to talk about big numbers. 6 figures. 7 figures. Financial freedom. Passive income. But almost nobody wants to deal with the part that actually matters. The boring part. The humiliating part. The part where you prove, quietly, whether you have any control over your own behavior. Because the first $10,000 has nothing to do with opportunity. It's a character test. At the beginning, money doesn't grow. It leaks. You work, you get paid, and the money evaporates through rent, food, subscriptions, impulse spending, and small rewards you think you deserve. You tell yourself you're not bad with money, you're just early in your journey. That's a comforting lie. Trying to save your first $10,000 feels insulting. You sacrifice, you cut back, you say no, and nothing improves. Your life doesn't look richer. No one notices. No one praises you. That's why most people quit. They don't quit because it's impossible. They quit because it's unrewarding. But here's the reality no one likes to hear. If you need visible rewards to behave responsibly, you are not disciplined. You're conditioned. $0 has zero momentum. That's not unfair, that's physics. When you have nothing, every expense hurts. Every mistake sets you back. And instead of accepting that reality, people look for ways around it. They chase faster money, riskier bets, louder lifestyles. They confuse movement with progress. Saving small amounts feels stupid to people who crave excitement. That's exactly why it works. Saving your first $10,000 is not about accumulating money. It's about proving that you can delay gratification without applause. And most people can't. They'll say they'll start saving when they earn more. When work slows down. When life becomes easier. That moment never arrives. Life gets more expensive, not less. Responsibilities grow. Expectations rise. If you don't build discipline early, income won't save you, it will expose you. I've watched people double their salary and stay just as broke. Every raise turned into a new habit. Every bonus became an excuse. They didn't lack intelligence. They lacked restraint. Money didn't disappear because of bad luck. It disappeared because they never learned how to say no to themselves. Here's the part that stings. If you can't manage $1,000, 10,000 will control you. And if 10,000 controls you, 100,000 will destroy you. The first $10,000 is your financial boot camp. It teaches you to live quietly, to endure boredom, to stop chasing validation, to accept that real progress often feels invisible. People hate that phase. They feel behind. They feel small. They feel like they're missing out. And instead of questioning their impulses, they blame the system, the economy, their background, their timing. Blame feels productive. Discipline feels lonely. This is where people sabotage themselves. They see others spending freely, online, in real life, and they assume those people are ahead. They don't see the debt. They don't see the anxiety. They don't see the fragile foundation underneath the image. Looking rich requires no self-control. Becoming stable does. The moment you save your first $10,000, something subtle but dangerous happens. You start believing you're ready for more risk, more complexity, more excitement. That's where people mess up again. If you skip the discipline phase, if you relied on luck, help, or shortcuts, momentum won't save you. It will magnify your flaws. Speed without control is how people crash with more money than they ever imagined. That's why people who come into money too fast often lose it. Not because they're foolish, but because they were never trained. They never learned restraint when it didn't matter. So when it does matter, they fail loudly. The first $10,000 builds control. The first 100,000 builds speed. Speed without control is destruction. If you're struggling to save right now, that doesn't mean you're hopeless, but does mean you're being tested. This phase is supposed to feel hard. It filters out people who want the result without the responsibility. There is no strategy that replaces spending less than you earn. None. No investment, no app, no mentor will override bad habits. If you can't protect the gap between income and spending, nothing compounds, except excuses. This is where people want motivation. They want inspiration. They want to feel good about themselves. That's the wrong goal. You don't need motivation. You need systems. Automatic saving. Fewer decisions. Less temptation. Simpler life. Boring routines. The kind of habits that don't care how you feel today. Once you cross $10,000, progress accelerates, not because the world changed, but because you did. You stop asking emotional questions about money. You stop trying to impress people who don't pay your bills. You stop mistaking consumption for success. And that's when $100,000 stops being a fantasy and starts becoming inevitable. But here's the final truth, and it's the one most people never accept. If you can't master the small numbers, the big ones will humiliate you. Money does not reward ambition. It does not care about your dreams. It responds to your behavior, nothing else. The first $10,000 is not about becoming rich. It's about becoming someone who deserves control. Pass that test, and the rest is just time. Fail it, and no amount of income will ever be enough.